Namaste, assalamu alaikum, bonjour, dzień dobry. How are you doing today? Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Ken at 10. If you haven't been here before, thanks for coming. If you're wondering why I've got that picture behind me, it's because we support them. And if there's one thing I thought the pandemic taught us, it was to value some professions that perhaps we hadn't recognized properly before. Apparently not, according to this government. What a PR disaster for them. No doubt they'll backpedal because they'll have to, but I find that quite annoying. I don't know about you. So power to the nurses and respect to you. We completely support what you're doing. I think it's absolutely right. Rant over. How are you today? Good morning. If you haven't been here before, thanks for joining us. This is Ken at 10. We talk about all things property here in southwest London. We're based in SW16, an area called Norbury, which is sandwiched between Streatham and Croydon. And we talk about property and general headlines, as you can see. So I hope you're doing well today. Here in Norbury, the weather is very windy. There's lots of trees flapping about in the wind, and I keep getting frustrated. I keep thinking it's spring, and then the sun goes in and it all gets a bit cold and nasty. So I hope this is the last of the cold snaps we're in for. So how are you today? I hope you're doing well. A few things. Had a shoot yesterday in Collier's Wood for Homes Under the Hammer. That was interesting. It's all a bit different now at the Homes Under the Hammer team. What used to happen was you'd have an army of people would go in there with you with lighting, and then you'd have the producer and the cameraman and everything else, and that's just one. And then you have the producer at the end of a telephone, usually from Scotland actually, and sometimes they're on video, sometimes it's just audio with an open phone line, and they're sat on a tripod on their iPhone talking to you and listening to what you're saying and making sure they're happy with the sound bites and what you've said and how it's presented and how it's come across, so that they can do the final editing and they feel like they've got the best possible clips. And that's always weird to see a camera one side and then an iPhone the other, all looking at you. So, pressure. But good fun, still enjoying doing it. And we have another one coming up next week in Streatham, so we're looking forward to that one as well. Of course, we'll tell you when they go live, but it can be some months between the filming and actually going live, but we'll always let you know. So a few property headlines today. Surveyors expect to see price rises. Well, no surprise there. But what they're saying is there's a shortfall of the number of homes coming up for sale, and that remains a stumbling block for the housing market, according to the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. This is a headline in the Times and the Mail and the Eye today. The RICS said buyer inquiries remained negative in February, but by less than in January, and new sellers were put off by ongoing coronavirus restrictions. Its monthly gauge of house price rises rose to plus 52%, slightly higher than the plus 49% in January. That's a misleading headline, isn't it? It's talking about rises over falls, not the headline inflation rate of property, I hasten to add. It says that expectations for sales levels over the next few months have improved, particularly in Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales. Surveyors also expected incomes from rental properties to grow over the coming year, with the exception of London, where they'll stay static, presumably. That's what we're experiencing at the moment. Mortgage agreements jumped by the end of last year. This is a headline in the Telegraph and the Express. New mortgage commitments in the fourth quarter totaled 87.7 billion. It's an incredible statistic, isn't it? The share of mortgages advanced to borrowers with deposits of less than 10% was 1.2%. In other words, virtually nothing. The lowest level since the stats began. Gross lending totaled 249 billion in 2020, showing a 9.8% fall with 2019. Estate agent Jeremy Leaf said the figures illustrate the tidal wave of transactions trying to take advantage of the stamp duty holiday prior to its recent extension. The other big headline is eviction bans, and this is BBC News, Sky News and The Times, and the government has extended yet again the ban on housing evictions enforced by bailiffs in England until May. Ministers indicated this could be the final such extension, promising a new approach from June. The current ban was due to expire at the end of March, and the government also extended the ban on commercial evictions until the 30th of June, which it says will help firms as they reopen after lockdown. A call for evidence will also be launched to seek responses to proposals, including a phased withdrawal of the protections. The National Residential Landlords Association, known as the NRLA, warned that the extension will do nothing to help those landlords and tenants hit due to the pandemic, while the British Property Foundation said the scandal of those well-capitalised businesses who can pay rent but have chosen not to cannot be allowed to continue. That's in reference to commercial, where there are commercial landlords that are sufficiently funded to start paying their rent but are choosing not to because they know landlords are powerless. And that's, something that has been a bloodbath in commercial It really has. The amount of commercial landlords I know that are finding that they have little or no rent and haven't had any for a considerable length of time, sending some bankrupt. So it's a big thing there. Fire safety rule change leaves thousands still trapped. The headline in the Telegraph saying a loophole in the new fire safety guidance could leave thousands trapped in unsaleable flats. The RICS announced that overhaul of the EWS1 forms, that's external wall safety forms, and the guidance will not have a retroactive effect for buildings that already have an EWS1 form. So in English, it means that homeowners could still be trapped in an unmortgageable property if they failed a previous inspection. The Telegraph asked 8 of Britain's biggest lenders if they would now consider a property with a failed EWS1, and of course none said yes. Well, there's no big surprises there, is there? You know, and isn't it right that if they fail a safety test, they should have to pull it up? But I do feel sorry for those trapped in the middle of it. It's awful. Interesting headline from BBC News and The Guardian as well on Grenfell. Coming back to that one, the firm that made the Grenfell Tower cladding was warned of the risks of a building fire that would kill 60 to 70 people a decade before the tragedy. The prediction came at a presentation attended by a marketing manager from Arconic. Gerard Sontag sent an internal memo suggesting the company stop selling the flammable version of its product, the public inquiry heard. However, the company kept the version on the market until after the Grenfell fire. Well, there's a culpable person at last found for that side of things. Very frustrating. So there we are. That's it for today. Lots of valuations today. Things going on in the office. New instructions too. Exciting time for us. We're still feeling the pressure of trying to get all of our clients under offer in good time for this deadline, because that March deadline might seem like a long way away, but it will be gone in the blink of an eye in terms of property transaction times. And of course, as everybody races to meet that deadline, we are heading for another cliff edge, no doubt about it. You know, I know we've doubled that stamp duty now allowance from 125 to 250, but here in London, when the difference is going to be 15,000 discount down to 2,000 discount, really the 2,000 is not going to be significant. But I do understand why it helps the rest of the UK, and that has to be a good thing. I just don't think the stepping is sufficiently soft. It would have been good if it halved and then come down again so that we could have a softer landing. But what it does do is underlines the market for this year in the peak period, the springtime, which is really important for the UK housing market. And with the 95% mortgages, which are coming next month, will really help to underpin the future of the UK housing market. We don't want massive house price inflation. That's not healthy for anybody, but everybody likes a little uplift in property prices, except first-time buyers, of course, and that's only until they bought, and then, of course, they want it like the rest of us. It's human nature. What can we do? But, you know, the housing market this year is looking strong, getting stronger, and confidence has returned to the market. So if you're thinking of selling, my advice to you would be get in gear early, get ready, especially if you have a leasehold property. Think about obtaining the answers to inquiries from your managing agent by paying the fee for their inquiry pack. Get ahead of the game, get a good lawyer, get a good solicitor. That's really, really important. And of course, get a good estate agent. If you need any help or advice, we're always here for you. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. And the other thing is that tomorrow at 10:30, we have Dr. Georgia Ladbury coming on to talk about the pandemic. This week, we'll be talking about vaccinations with her. We'll be talking about the fake news over the injections. We'll be talking about pregnancy and the vaccine and all sorts of other things that are concerning people. So if you have any worries about the vaccinations or the pandemic, then Dr. Georgia Ladbury is an expert and will be live on the show from 10:30 tomorrow. And she's fantastic. So if you have any comments to make, we'd be glad to have you along. And if you'd like to see where we are, what her predictions are, where she sees us going, and the efficacy of the vaccines, whether you should have a vaccine, we'll be talking all about that tomorrow. We'll be all over that tomorrow at 10:30. So I hope you can join us for that. Until then, stay well and safe. Look after yourselves and your families. Have a fantastic day.